Hey everyone, welcome to this full moon Sidereal astrology forecast for the full moon of the weekend for July 3rd, 4th, and 5th, 2020. Alright, so full moon in expansive Sagittarius. If you were expecting me to say Capricorn just then, be sure to check out that link down below. We are using the visible sky called True Sidereal Astrology, and this does change the signs from mainstream astrology. Alright, so a heightened phase now of the eclipse cycle. In fact, this will be a very partial lunar eclipse full moon. And so, very important time of the year for shifts and changes to our life path. Right now with Sagittarius, it's great to do a status check with how is our more free-spirited side. Sagittarius, the centaur, is about listening to that spirit for life, being willing to expand our horizons and follow that spirit towards some sort of purpose or something that we could feel like is guiding us there. So really good to do that. We do have, of course, the oppositions up to Mercury Retrograde with the sun in Gemini. So while expanding our horizons, good to stay practical and willing to learn and be flexible. We do have a very slight conjunction with Jupiter and Pluto with this full moon, which could make it quite deep, in fact, and really good to excavate things and bring things to the surface. We do have a slight square up to Chiron, meaning a good time for healing and empowering ourselves towards any wounds that we can heal or transform. And a trine up to Uranus, making it great for mixing things up, challenging our status quo a little bit, and perhaps the status quo to induce some change. All right, so let's take a look at all of this here in more detail when we return. All right, so here's the chart for the full moon. So the exact time of the full moon will be at 0050 Eastern time of the Americas on Sunday. So for all intents and purposes though, really regardless of where you are in the world, it will be both Saturday and Sunday in which you'll be feeling the full moon, and then going into next week will be really good for implementing this energy. Now, as you can see here in the chart, we are using the uneven constellations, which is very different from mainstream astrology. So again, if you were expecting me to say the full moon's in Capricorn, definitely check out that link down below for more information. All right, so let's take a look here at the chart here. We have the moon up in Sagittarius, the constellation of the Centaur, and marking the halfway point of this very important eclipse cycle that we're in, and this partial lunar eclipse. So with this, the Centaur, Sagittarius, is all about connecting to the side of ourself that is both free-spirited and willing to expand our horizons, right? If we look at the constellation, it's the half horse, half human, and it represents both the more instinctual side because it is a fire sign. So it is about listening to spirit or listening to our spirit. What excites us? What do we see as a potential or opportunity? What can we be open-minded about and follow that in that free way, which is the more instinctual side, but also the human side, which is that through this expansion, when we are willing to expand our horizons, either mentally or literally, we do gain wisdom, right? And we do gain new perceptions, right? So the more open we are to new experiences, to adventurousness, the more open-minded we are, of course, the more wisdom we get and the more of that sort of expansive perception that we get. So really good to do a status check with this side of ourselves. The full moon is the halfway point of the cycle, meaning it's a great time to see how is this energy going in our lives. Roughly about 6 months ago, we had the new beginning here, the new moon here. And in this case, now 6 months later, how's this energy going? Can we further develop, or how can we further develop this free-spirited, open-minded, willing to expand our horizons side of ourselves? So great to do a status check with that. And if there is anything that you do want to make some shifts or changes with in the journey, in both the yearly and perhaps monthly journey, it's great to ask ourselves, how can we do it in this way? How can we further develop this Sagittarius energy? So with this full moon, we do have quite a few aspects going on. Of course, all full moons involve oppositions to the sun in the opposite constellation of Gemini. But of course, Mercury is retrograde also opposite the full moon. So Gemini, being the opposite constellation of Sagittarius, reminds us that while it's good to expand our horizons, to maintain rootedness and groundedness in the practical realms, right? For about the past few weeks, it's been really good to see how can we be willing to learn, right? Gemini's been about developing the side that wants to learn new ideas, is willing to share and exchange with others in terms of these ideas, or just to create more of that sort of flexibility in our life, right? So great to be willing to learn. Of course, that assists Sagittarius, as I was saying, with that open-mindedness. It's great to also see how can these higher perspectives be grounded practically into our life, because what's the point of having the spirit and the purpose and all that freedom if we can't apply it practically, right? So really good to see that, how to find that balancing point between the expansive and the practical, between the abstract or right side of the brain and the more, practical left side of the brain. So really good to find that balance with this full moon. Now with Mercury retrograde, of course, still good to be flexible in general. Still a good time of being willing to experiment, right? Information's changing, ideas are changing, even perspectives are changing. So the more open we are to, experimenting with them, right? Seeing how we can try a little bit of this, a little bit of that, learn this, get into situations that don't have a sort of definitive outcome, but we can, go into those experiences and be as flexible as possible. Have a plan A, B, C, and D, and in that way gain a lot of information and knowledge, which fundamentally both of these constellations are about. All right, so with this, we do have a very slight conjunction with Jupiter, the dispositor of the full moon, the ruler of Sagittarius, conjunct Pluto. So in a way, this full moon does have a deeper quality about it. It's not that strong, it's not that close to Pluto, but because Jupiter's so close, it could certainly bring it up. And maybe you've been already feeling this for about the past week since Jupiter's been close to Pluto. So in this case, great to excavate things, right? I think on one level, this full moon is really about bringing things up to the surface that might be quite deep, that might have to do with past perspectives or past belief systems that we could be transforming and changing. So an excellent time to dive deep, both with ourselves and with life, to empower ourselves to face any fears that inhibit us in expanding those horizons, and to see if there is any outdated perspectives or belief systems that could be changing or transforming, so that again, we can listen to that spirit and do what that higher perspective is guiding us towards. So really good to do that with that conjunction with Pluto and Jupiter. Now there's also a square up to Chiron. Chiron being a comet isn't that strong, but I still think this could be an important component here. And Chiron, also a deep energy, does deal specifically with healing. So if there is anything that you can do that by expanding your horizons with might require facing some wounds or some inhibitions, right? It could be really good to do that. As we expand those horizons, it could be quite healing and quite therapeutic. And if there is anything you do want to challenge yourself with just regarding healing in general or facing some wounds in general, that could be an excellent way of working with this full moon, especially if those wounds have anything to do with finding more peace in life, being more receptive, maybe getting some more rest or alone time or spiritual time, or doing what's important to us on a soul level, right? This is where the healing energy is, and also where Mars is, which means that it is where we're getting things done, or how we're getting things done at the moment collectively, right? Instead of swimming upstream against the current, Mars in Pisces is helping us follow the current and put energy towards where the flow of life is. Sometimes inaction is the best action, and sometimes, more of a receptive approach can mean getting more done, or developing more of those soul-guided goals or desires with Mars there. All right, so along with this, we do have a trine up to Uranus as well in fiery Aries. So with this full moon, great to see how we can maybe mix some things up, intentionally induce some change, disrupt things a little bit, challenge our own status quo or the status quo a little bit. It's very supportive for that, and anything that does require initiative with Uranus and Aries, that will induce some change and bring in a little bit more of this freedom of being our true self, because our true self does want, change and does want to have more freedom and wants to express ourselves, right, in that unique way that we all are. And so anything that does involve that, where we can challenge our status quo, induce a little bit of change, disrupt things in healthy and conscious ways, very supportive for this full moon. All right, everyone, so that is the full moon in a nutshell. Again, it will be generally speaking, either very late Saturday or very early Sunday collectively for the world. The exact time will be 0050 Eastern Time of the Americas on Sunday the 5th. No major aspects going exact this weekend, so the emphasis will be on the full moon. As we approach the full moon, do keep in mind that the energies are perhaps starting to heighten. This is the highest energy phase of the lunar cycle. There could be some new, again, perspectives coming in, but do give it until after the full moon to really see what those shifts of perspectives are, right? What is changing and how we can further develop this free-spirited, open-minded, right, and spirit-guided side of ourselves. Balancing that with the practical, being willing to learn and be flexible with Gemini and Mercury Retrograde, being willing to dive deep, excavate things, especially if it has to do with our perception in some way, with Jupiter conjunct Pluto, maybe do some things involving healing with Chiron, and being willing to helpfully disrupt things with that trine up to Uranus. All right, so everyone have a fantastic full moon. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to click that like button if you haven't yet. If you're new to the channel, subscribe for more daily videos, or click that notification bell down below to be notified of when these videos are uploaded. But I wish you a happy full moon. Thank you again, and I will see you all next time for the next daily video. Take care.